Alrighty, what's going on, folks? Welcome to Behind the Business here on 3.5, where we take a deep dive on all things in the music industry. My name is Esai Ellis, and I will be your host for the next hour. We're keeping things here strictly business, and we're very happy that you're here to join us. Let's just address the elephant in the room. Yes, I know my headphones are ginormous, and it looks like I will be flying a helicopter, but we need to make sure that the sound quality sounds splendid. So if it means that I have to, look like that I'm about to spit a mean DJ set, just ignore that. Okay. Other than that, for the past 3 years, I have been a social media representative here at 1824. And if you're not tapped in, 1824 is UMG's cultural marketing and content strategy team. Here, we focus on connection of artists and brands directly to fans through storytelling and experiences. Our offerings include content creation, ideation, creative partnerships, experiences, digital marketing, PR, and live streaming with the UMG's official Twitch channel, 3.5. If you have any questions and you'd like for them to be answered, please feel free to type it in the chat. We'll do our best to make sure that they get covered. All right, now I'm very excited for this special episode of Behind the Business, and I'm super stoked to announce our next guest. She hails from the University of Illinois and is the Director of Digital Marketing here at Capital Music Group. So please, folks, give a warm welcome for the lovely Danielle Nicholson.
Hi, everybody.
What's going on? What's going on? How are we feeling today?
I'm good. How are you?
Can't complain. I'm super excited to do this. I wanted to first address, you've had an amazing year. How has this year been for you so far? Can you give us a little recap of some of the stuff that you've done?
Oh my God. This year's been crazy. It's been an incredible year, honestly. Just with a lot of the artists I get to work with and just a lot of things that I've got to do with said artists have just been amazing, from Doechii to Masego to Lil Baby, to just a lot of different, just cool things that happened. So honestly, this year was a lot of, dreams coming true, from Grammy wins to more nominations to all the things in between. So it's been a great year. It's been a great year.
Absolutely. Congratulations. And we are starting to wrap up 2025. So is there anything that's still on the checklist that you'd like to get done before the year is over? Or are you strictly preparing for next year to go full gear and tackle the things for next year?
Honestly, I'm preparing for next year. I feel like this year has been just very abundant, and there's a lot of good things that have happened. And honestly, I'm just prepping for what the good that's to come in 2026. So
Absolutely. I mean, we wish you the best, and we know you're going to do amazing things next year. I would like for you to talk about your role as a digital marketer and some of the responsibilities and tasks that you do.
Yeah, so it's kind of like we kind of touch a little bit of everything, right? I think in 2020, when the pandemic happened, I think digital marketing really became the forefront of like music marketing or marketing in general, just because people weren't able to experience in real life anymore. So it's a lot. Anything you might see on the internet, I might have a hand in, from content to live performances, like live stream performances, to influencer marketing, to just kind of anything in between, website ideation, just kind of just conceptualizing, bringing different pieces to life from start to finish. There's so many things, interview pieces, podcasts, like just, controlling, or not when you say controlling, but building narratives around artists across different socials. So much. Anything you might see an artist do online, the digital marketer likely had a, helping hand in that. So it can range from quite literally anything you might see online.
That's dope. That's dope. So some will say that you're like a jack of all trades, even just by all the hands that you're dipping your toes in and stuff like that. That's amazing. So we're gonna rewind a little bit, because 1824, we're basically majority filled of college students based in different markets around the country. And I wanted to talk to you about your experience at the University of Illinois. Was being a digital marketer, or just being in the music industry in general, something that you always wanted to do? Like, did you know from the get-go that, okay, yeah, I love music, I know I want to do something with music, so I might as well develop a career in the music industry? Was this something that you knew off the bat that you wanted to be in?
No, it wasn't at all, actually. I've
Really?
always been like, I would say I've always been like musically inclined, and I've always really, really had like a passion for music and making
Hmm.
playlists and just all things like that. But I never like contextualized it or like thought a career could come of just me loving music or me thinking, being inclined in certain respects.
Right.
So in college, I'm very good at numbers. I thought I would be like an accountant. I thought I would be working in,
Whoa.
I swear I did not, working in the music industry was not even didn't cross my mind. So
Mhm.
in college I was a communication major with a business minor. So
Uh-huh.
I did like kind of the broad route because I was a little lost on what I wanted to do. I figured I wanted to do something that involved numbers, like a finance career or something of that sort, but I was never actually sold on it. Nothing ever actually was like spoke to me and like I felt passionate about. Um,
Fair.
until I will say just being around just different people in my environment. So my brother, he was managing artists around that time when I was coming up in high school, and then while I was in college, he was a managing artist. And then I have a lot of
Hmm.
friends who like produce and stuff and work, and work in music in that way, and like have built kind of like a collective in Chicago where they all like kind of work together. So I think my very first studio experience is when it dawned on me. I was with a group of friends, a few producers, a few rappers, and we went to the studio and it just like it clicked. I was like, oh, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in environments like this. I'm supposed to be giving my thoughts and opinions. Like there was, as I was in the studio, I just remember so many, like it was like a revelation, so many thoughts and just so many
Wow.
ideas and things just popped in my head. And when I left the studio, I turned to my best friend and my other friend who was a producer DJ, and I was like, guys, I think music is it. I think like, what do I do? And so from there, I thought it was A&R. I really wanted to be an A&R.
Okay.
Not to say it's out of the question, but
Okay. Fair
I
enough.
thought
Right.
it was A&R. And so like from there, I was just really, working to figure out how to get in the industry. And by this time, it was about my
Hmm.
senior year of college. So I had surpassed like the internship age and all that stuff. So I don't know if you want me to go deep dive into post college, but that was kind of the revelation that maybe made me like, oh, okay, music is where you're supposed to be. Music has always been what you're passionate about,
Hmm.
and time to turn that into a career.
Hey, what a blessing and what an amazing start of the journey. Of course, you can go on, take a deeper dive and however much you want to. But I wanted to say, so towards the end of the year, your senior year, you knew that you wanted to be in this industry. Were you able to pick up any skills that you're able to utilize even now as in your role as a digital marketer? Or do you feel like that was still early for you to have developed any skills in this industry?
Are you referring to just skills that I've picked up in college or just
Yes, skills that
um
you picked up in college that you still use to this day that kind of helped you get your foot in this door.
this might be crazy to say on the 1824 call, but I don't know if I think from the degree that I was getting, I wouldn't necessarily say it is applicable to where what
Hmm.
I do now. And not to say like there's definitely things, right? Like I was a communication major, so it was truly and not to be confused with communications. Communication was truly figuring out like ways to like communicate in different respects. So like at a
Hmm.
business communications course where you learn how to talk to people in the business industry and you learn how to communicate and what certain things mean at a family communications course. So it's like there are certain things that I pulled from that, but I won't necessarily say my degree was so this helped me get here as far as like what my degree entailed. Of course, the degree helped me get a job,
Right, right.
but what was in it wasn't necessarily digital marketing. This was something that kind of me just being on the internet and me just like kind of knowing social media, I was able to kind of lean into because of just my knowledge of being someone who grew up on social media from the start of like MySpace and things of that sort.
Absolutely, and that's interesting that you mentioned MySpace, right? Obviously, MySpace is not really as relevant as it once was, right? And
Mhm.
we're seeing a whole bunch of new apps and new forms of marketing that people use now. So I wanted to talk to you about how you've seen the social media era from some of its early stages and how you're seeing it now. Do you notice any differences or any similarities as far as artists trying to market themselves on social media, or has it really relatively been the same?
I mean, I think it's been very different. I think with where the music industry sits now, there in the past there wasn't a need to promote yourself on social media because
Hmm.
everything was we're buying CDs in stores. There wasn't really a streaming component to it all. So it all was like truly like guerrilla on the street type of marketing. So I would say it's completely changed the way artists market themselves. I mean, I even have artists to this day who are like very much Gen Z say,
Hmm.
oh, well, Beyonce didn't have to do that. Well, I'm like, well, Beyonce didn't grow up in the era that you're in. You're
Right.
in the social media era where artists have to market themselves on social media. It just kind
Mhm.
of is what it is. Like in the way that 20 years ago you had to be on the radio, you had certain things. I think things have
Hmm.
shifted. Obviously radio is still a part of success for artists today, but it's very different, very very different than what it was before. And even just like the beginning stages of social media, and I won't just say artists in general, I'll just say people. I think social media, and not to say social media still isn't fun, but I think it used to be a little more, it used to be a little more, it used to be less serious.
Yeah.
And people, would just post pictures of the sidewalk, that look
Mhm.
cool to them that day. Or like people are just so precious with what they share online now, when I feel like the start of social media was so new that people were just like, oh, I can share things. I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this. So as a person and as an artist, I feel like it was more so that way. And now, you know, you say the wrong thing, anything, just so much comes from
Right.
the good and the bad. So I think just a lot has changed, but in where we are today, it's like, artists have to use social media to market because that's just the world that we live in now.
That's yeah. I mean, I 100% agree. And you had mentioned about people trying to take more precaution in what they post. Do you find that someone or an artist can get the same results if they aren't really necessarily posting on social media that much, or do you feel like this is really a tool that if you really want to get a name of yourself and really put yourself out there, you kind of have no choice but to use social media?
It depends on the stage you're at as an artist.
Hmm.
I think, right? Like I know I mentioned Beyonce. If Beyonce doesn't want to promote her song on on social media, she doesn't have to necessarily. Now, is it going to reach its full potential? I don't know, but she's going to stream the way she streams. I think it depends on where you're at in your career. I would say there are certain artists who is just that's not their style. They do not post, they do not whatever. But a lot of those artists have this very, very cult fan base
Yeah.
where that fan base is a super fan base that's going to stream no matter what, versus like an artist who's developing or whatever. You haven't even built that fan base yet, and you haven't had people to buy into your brand. And
Hmm.
so it's like it just kind of is what it is. You kind of have to, or you'll see, I feel like artists also will learn that difference, right? Like artists will see the difference in them posting versus them not posting. And I don't even want to make it about posting versus not posting, but like, yeah, I think it just kind of depends on exactly where you are in your career, but it's always like the best tool. I think we're in a generation now where most people even get their news from social media, or just anything that happens
Right.
in pop culture or cultural events, people get it from social media. So it's like at the end of the day, even if maybe it's not the artist doing the leaning in themselves, but that's us, the digital team will then make sure like it's being seen in other places, from fan pages to just any respect. But yeah.
That was perfect. Perfect answer to my question. And we actually have a question from the chat that
Okay.
that I'm sure they would like to hear your opinion on. And how do you go about artists that don't want to market themselves on social media? Sometimes they view it as selling out. It's so hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends. I think a lot of artists, again, it also depends on the artist. There are some artists who where they have been had a career long enough where they didn't have to post before,
Mhm.
because social media wasn't as prominent before, but they're still in the industry and they have to post now. Sorry, what was your question?
The question, and this is also from Lauren Nisa, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't
Okay.
mention
No,
you.
you're good.
She's asked, how do you go about artists that don't want to market themselves on
Yeah.
social media?
Okay.
Because sometimes they view it as selling out and it's so hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends. I think a lot of artists have this perception that promoting yourself on social media means you have to get on TikTok and dance.
Hmm.
And
Right.
like literally, that truly, I talk to
Right.
so many artists like, well, I don't want to dance. I'm like, I didn't ask you to dance. Like,
Mhm.
I think what you have to do is tailor whatever you want from them to them. It has to feel like this is something that organically they would do whether you told them to do or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when you tailor your marketing to how your artist sees social media, how they see themselves, that is where you'll get the most success, right? Like, or even
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like someone like a Doechii is just, she's so creative, right? So she wants anything you present to her to be creative. And Doechii posts, like, I don't know if you've seen her TikTok, she's all over TikTok and Instagram. But just like, it's just like, it just kind of, I feel like it starts with the idea as well. It's like you have to lean into what you know works for your artist and what from a fan perspective think works for that artist, and then kind of double down on it. Like I have artists who are like, no, I'm looked at as an artiste. You know, I'm an
Fair
artist.
enough.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
if you are, then let's have you do a live performance content piece where you're playing all the instruments that you know how to play. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let's feed into
Absolutely, yeah.
what you actually like to do and utilize that to make you more active on social media versus doing what everybody else is doing. No, I don't. If you don't like to dance on TikTok, please don't. I
Fair
beg you.
enough. That's actually a great point. And, you know, you had mentioned someone being an artiste and being very critical and particular on how they release their projects. So I wanted to ask you, and this may be open-ended, but do you find that the results are better for an artist who focuses more on putting out the quantity of social media posts? So they're not really necessarily putting too much effort on the post. You know, it's not really edited to the best, but, you know, they are consistent with the social media posts and they're, you know, they're posting their dances or they're doing the trends. Whereas someone who's a little more mindful about what they want to put out and they're really more particular. So do you find that the results are different for someone who's more consistent, but they're putting out quality, or more so someone who's more focused on the quantity and they aren't as consistent?
That is a tricky question. I feel like there's a balance because I feel like your audience can get tired of you putting out too much of the same
Right.
type of content, right? Like, you know, I've seen artists do that where it's like, no, it's like quite literally the same exact style, them doing the same exact thing over and over. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I think things like that work until they don't. And then
Mm-hmm.
same with like quality. It's like, you know, you want to make the most quality content, but you also can't be too precious with how much you post that content. So I think it's a balance. I won't say that one will see more success over the other. I think you have to have the balance of both. You have to figure out a balance between quality and quantity to get the best result. Because again, you could just be posting just to post and that won't do anything either. Or if you are like an artist who just has like a funny personality and it's not really about marketing music, but it's about like just bringing like awareness to like how hilarious you are or whatever, and you're just constantly posting just silly stuff on TikTok, you're leaning into the trending silly sounds and stuff like that. I don't think that is kind of like a different realm because it's not really music promotion, more so an artist just
Right.
self. So I think there's just like a balance that I think all artists should have between not being too precious, but also you don't have to be too give up too much.
Right.
That makes sense.
100%. So all my artists out there, it's okay to do the best of both worlds. All right. You don't have to do the trends all the time. You can do a little bit of both.
Exactly.
And so we do have another question in the chat. This comes from Megs276. How do you coordinate with fellow marketing department/teams to curate artist brands and overall marketing presence? How do you go about making individualized marketing plans for each different artist you work with?
Okay, this is a two-pronged question. So like departmental, I think it kind of starts at like marketing, digital marketing are two different departments. Some people
Mhm.
don't realize that. But I think between the marketing team, the digital team, um, creative, I
Mhm.
think those are kind of like the starters of like, okay, how do we build this world? So we kind of have to work hand and A&R because they're the ones who bring us the music. So you have to work hand in hand with each of these departments to like get the best result. We want to create the world. I need to be able to feed into the world digitally. The PM needs to be able to set the overall tone and strategy of how, you know, the next however 6 or whatever months look like for an
Mhm.
artist rolling something out. And then we all need to like feed into it. And then I left out publicity too, but like just it's hand in hand. And then other teams come in, okay, this is the creative world or whatever. How do we fit a brand partnership into that world. So
Right.
it's truly like the best result comes from when every department is constantly communicating and like giving each other like, okay, these are the strategy, this is what's working here, this is the world, all that. So I think it's kind of like just coming together. I feel like for any artist, we always have a weekly meeting, any active artist, where every department is on brainstorming, ideating, giving what, an update on their respective department, and kind of we're coming together to feed into what each other has. My publicist on one of my artists might have like this huge moment, and then it's time for me to then go in and make sure that moment is widespread on the internet. So yeah, we
Absolutely.
hand in hand in that way. And there was a question.
The second part was how do you go about making individualized marketing plans for each different artist you work with?
Oh, that's hard. Yes, there's no like, it just kind of depends on the artist, right? It just kind of depends on who the artist is, where the artist sits in the marketplace, if they're super up and coming, if they're mid-tier, if they're macro artists. Like, it kind of depends on so many factors in order to kind of like differentiate how you market them. But each marketing plan looks very different. There are going to be, of course, like those baseline things that you need to do for each artist. So I think all those, like, you have to cover your bases from a digital perspective and like a 360. Like, we're thinking on, influencer, creator, CRM, email, CRM and email, just so many things that we have to consider when it comes to each artist. So it's like we consider the same exact things as like a formula, but what's in those things is very different on how we approach it. So it's kind of hard to answer that question. Each artist is very, very different. Some artists like to do certain things, some don't, some like to do other things. So it just truly depends on the type of artist you have. And, you have to make sure that you tailor it to that artist. So it feels like this isn't just a marketing plan that could be used for artists. This is tailored to like this artist's vision and how how they're being seen in, the marketplace and the industry.
Yeah, that was very well said, and it kind of segues into my next question about maintaining those relationships with your artist, right? I mean, of course, you have to build that trust for you and the artist to be able to have their vision come to life. And I wanted to ask you, has there ever been a point in time where you were working on a project and you were creating the marketing plan and you released it to the public and it just really didn't really work out to how you wanted it to be? How do you pivot and communicate with the artist, okay, this didn't work out how we wanted it to be, let's focus on the next and see how we can focus on what we do differently?
I mean, I feel like digital marketing in general is very trial and error. We know there are things that work just in general, and there's things we just have to test. Like, we don't always know if this will hit or if that will hit. And that's kind of the beauty of digital marketing. There's just so much that you can do to kind of like utilize move a campaign and drive a campaign forward. But yeah, it just I don't know, it just kind of depends. Sorry, I'm like trying to find
I completely understand. I mean, it's different artists, each artist has their own thoughts, their own relationships, personalities, and stuff like that. But we do have a question, which could kind of segue into what I just said, and this is from Justin. He asked, do you think it's more efficient to centralize digital marketing or customize content for every social platform?
Do you think it's more? Can you repeat that? I'm not sure if I truly understand.
So, do you think it's efficient to centralize digital marketing or customize content for every social platform?
Got it. It depends. I think most times, though, I think things work differently on different platforms. I think so. I think you kind of have to tailor what works, what you see work best on each platform, right? Like, I think TikTok is the platform where people can be a little more free and be a little more fun and be less high gloss, less, whatever. I think that's where you can really bring out your personality. And not to say you can't do that across other platforms, but like Instagram, we noticed that like more of the high gloss stuff performs better on there versus a TikTok. If you post something too high gloss on TikTok, 9 times out of 10, it might not work because TikTok is truly in favor of like iPhone and like content that's less curated, if that makes sense. So yeah, I would say it just kind of depends on the platform, but I would definitely say specific content can and should be curated for different platforms. Obviously, there's content that works across both. And like if you're posting something like, a music video trailer or just anything like you did a live perform, whatever, you should post it across all platforms. But like also just know that there are kind of levels to like what works on each platform.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this may be my personal opinion, but I feel like Instagram is for like your more unique aesthetic, right? It's like your main page, and like TikTok is like your spam, where like you
Yeah,
can do like your other things, your trends, your dances, your behind the scenes and stuff like that. Uh,
exactly.
and so this next question comes from the chat, and it's just from Jewel, and she asks, or he, I'm sorry. How do labels measure digital artist readiness beyond social numbers? What qualitative signals tell you an artist is ready for a bigger push?
Beyond social numbers.
So beyond, I guess, what you
So
see
the personal social numbers, or I guess because we
based
kind
on
of
how many likes they get on a day to day
yeah
basis, how many followers,
yeah
how do you yeah.
okay yeah it just again it just kind of depends, right? Like I think like I have this one artist, very very developing, but he had a song kind of go kind of crazy recently, and it started from an Instagram post. He teased it, we ran ads behind it, and the artist at the time, he's gotten a little more followers now, but at the time it got he was at like 25,000 Instagram followers, and the post got like 30,000 likes at the time.
Mm.
And right now, that post is like at 125,000 likes. So that
Oh,
was a
wow.
marker to tell us, like, okay, he's still very developing, obviously, but there is
Hmm.
something very sticky in these songs where there are more people who are liking the post than who actually follow him. So he's reaching a
Right.
completely new, different audience.
Hmm.
And so a situation like that is like, oh, okay, there's something in this song. Let's add some fuel to it. So I would say like it depends on like in a number sense, or like even I'll just use like a same development artist. If there's like, oh, I noticed like 100 creates a day isn't much for like a bigger artist, but 100 creates a day on the artist who's never had 100 creates a day is huge.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, let's
Absolutely.
let's add some fuel to that fire. Let's see how we can double down and get a couple of more influencers or run some volume or anything like that. So yeah, it just kind of depends on the artist, because the markers are different, right? The higher, the bigger you are,
Hmm.
the less developing, the more quote unquote superstardom you are. It just kind of depends. And then I feel like, as you grow more, just, is it streaming numbers? Is it, oh, okay, this is hitting 4,000 crates a day. That's something for real for an artist like that, or, whatever. It just kind of
Hmm.
depends on the artist and just the situation. But it could be a range from a post getting 100,000 likes when the artist only has 30,000 followers to getting 5K creates a day on TikTok to, okay, that we need to lean in on that. So just there's a few things that can determine what deciphers us leaning into something.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Joel, for the amazing question, because it definitely segues to my next question when you were talking about trends and stuff like that. Obviously, amongst the many things that you've accomplished in your amazing career, I would like you to take us through the moments when Doechie's song "Anxiety" went viral. You were able to elevate that momentum by bringing in Will Smith to
Mhm.
to tackle on the trend. Like tell me about that, because that's pretty crazy,
Yeah.
especially to do something on a short notice.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole anxiety lore is just really, really crazy. It truly happened out of nowhere. So after I'll just start from the beginning. After Doechii won the Grammy, obviously people are doing their
Hmm.
deep dives. Doechii on YouTube, she used to vlog, she used to do freestyles and all types of content. Like she was like a lot of
Hmm.
people actually know her just from YouTube, and they're like, oh, that's the girl that used to do that on YouTube, whatever.
Yeah.
So she used to do this thing, and she kind of revamped it with her Swamp Sessions last year. But she used to do this freestyle series where Coven Music Sessions, I believe, where she would time herself, give herself an hour, and whatever she wrote in that hour, she has to record and put a video out on YouTube
Hmm.
or whatever. So she did that for her song Anxiety. This was 2019 when she posted that video on YouTube.
Hmm.
So after the Grammy, people are doing their deep dives or searching through her YouTube. They found that video, and then people started to post that online, started to resurface it, and they posted on TikTok. And it started to move. And so, it started to do a little bit of something. I'm like, okay, a couple hundred creates a day. This is interesting. I'm like, okay, I think this just hit 1,000 creates a day. This is a random YouTube song.
Yeah.
Also, just side note, also, Sleepy Hollow, between that time, I think it was 2022 or 2023, he sampled video. So there was a lot of confusion on like, wait, did Doechii take his song? Wait, is this but no, he loved the song, he sampled it. And then so like, with the success of how we saw it on TikTok, it just started to bubble. And so my coworker made me tell the story in front of the label the other day. So I'll just but when I noticed it hit, I think my coworker Sarah said this just hit 6 creates. I'm like, I knew it, guys. Like I knew we should be flagging it, whatever. I was like, let me just text this to the group chat. Send to the group chat. I'm like, hey guys, like, hey Doechii, this is starting to move. It just saw 6 K creates yesterday. Like, you should do something about it. I'm not trying to be too pushy, but you should lean in if you feel like it, And she responds, oh, can I actually, like, I've been seeing it. Actually, can I drop it? I really want to drop it. Like, she texts her management, like, do you think I can get this cleared? Because it's a huge sample.
Right.
There's an original sample. So that was kind of like the starter of the conversations. And then it started to go crazier by the day. It got insane.
I remember.
It's so crazy. So then, she re-recorded her version. We were able to release that. And then the streaming started to go insane. And then what really kicked off TikTok was someone put the clip from Fresh Prince of Ashley doing the little dance in Ashley's bedroom. And so once that clip took off, people started to recreate that dance. Like we saw Demi Lovato, just these huge stars started to recreate the dance. So I got Will's team on the phone. I said, hey guys, I hit Doechii first. I said, we need to create this moment. We need you, Will Smith, all in the video.
Right.
Us, me and Doechii's management, TDE, we're just chatting through like, are we going to do it? Should we reach out? Should we make this work? So I was able to get in contact with Will's team at Westbrook, and I got on the phone with them, and they were like, what's crazy is we have been talking about this for the last week, and we were like, we need to get Will and Doechii. So I'm thinking it might have to be like not a fight, but I'm thinking I'm gonna have to do a little convincing, like, guys, this is huge, like you should, but like they were like, no, I've already been talking about how we can execute this. And then I was like, can we get Tatiana Ali involved? And they were like, yeah, we would love to. Like we reached out to her, like they were like, we were all on the same page.
Yeah.
And man, that was insane. So then it came to fruition. We went to Will Smith's house to shoot the TikTok. It was the coolest thing ever. That was probably one of the most. I've met a lot of people, but I'm like Will Smith and being in his house. What? So it was just, we got it done. And that's probably to this day still Doechii's most viewed, liked, whatever TikTok on platform. Will Smith too. Like that is one of the most liked on TikTok of the year. It was just insane. So that's kind of the story.
you delivered it and you handled it and executed it perfectly. I mean, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise for Will Smith's party to have heard about it already, and they're like already tapped in and already willing to do the trend. So that's pretty awesome. And speaking of the Doechii, and I wanted to stay on the trend a little bit. I mean, she's had a phenomenal year. She just won her first Grammy, and then she's nominated for 5 Grammys in this upcoming 2026 awards. So I wanted to ask, how do you, like, what does an artist do during this time? Like, do you keep the momentum, try to, maybe drop a few more singles, or is this more so, okay, we're just going to wait to see how this goes, how this play out, and just see what's to come after the award show?
It truly depends, right? Like, I think the way that I feel like this year and last year looked very different, right? Like last year was for a project, and we were like, we were gunning for that Grammy. You know what I'm saying? Right. So we made sure that, we had marketing and content throughout like the whole like December, which is a lot of like the voting period, a lot of just like in general, when things are happening for the Grammys. So we made sure that she was present. She was doing content. We did, she did Tiny Desk, she did Colbert, she did her Genius Open Mic with Issa Rae, all these things. But I think it just kind of depends. This year it's all focused on one single versus last year it was a full body of work. So for this side of the year, I mean, for this nomination specifically, I think the approach is different just because it's so hyper focused on one song and the song has already kind of done its thing, you know what I'm saying? Versus like last year, I think it was truly discovery moment for Doechii, and not to say like, she still has, a
Right.
discovery point to make. But I think the difference is when you have a single, you can just get more hyper focused. And for me, I feel like it's less of like a push, and it's still like, okay, we have this song, like how do we continue, just make sure people remember how great this song was, how well it did, like how the streams and all that, the charting that it did, and all that. So I think it's more so of like approaching it like, this is the song that we put out this year that has been nominated now, and how do we kind of remind people like this is what we did. I would say some artists might drop like singles and stuff in between, but those singles, it's not like they won't be like added towards anything like Grammy related, right? Whatever you already what's submitted. It's not like the new singles can be submitted, but I think there is a thing to like putting more music out in the marketplace so people then discover like whatever you're trying to promote, or just your name is just kind of in people's mouths now because you're releasing more music or freestyles or anything of that sort. So yeah, a lot of our focus last year was like just recognition of who Doechii is, and I think this year it's more so like this song was amazing. In case you guys forgot.
Right. Absolutely. And so, amongst Doechii, you've also worked with amazing and talented artists, Ryla Rodriguez, Dave, Masego, as you mentioned, Kali Uchis, and Lil Baby. My question for you is: do you find that you can approach, marketing their projects, similar to another artist, or do you feel like each artist is something completely different, and the blueprint that you have for one artist isn't necessarily going to work for this artist? Or do you all feel like, we all have the same goal, so usually the blueprint is the same?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think not everything will work for every artist, right? Like you kind of like, even if you use the same like baseline, you still have to tailor it to who the artist is, where they sit in the music industry, like in the marketplace. But I also think there's, I feel like as marketers, digital marketers, I think we are also like watching each other, right? I'm watching what other people are doing at other labels, and just I feel like more so for inspiration, like not even necessarily like, oh, I want to do this. I think of ideas inspire other ideas. And so like, yeah, I can take a plan that I did for whoever and be like, I don't know if this will work for a Baby, but if we do this, that would work. So I think it's just like, I don't know. I think inspiration can kind of come from anywhere. And so like, yeah, the plans there, I would say they're not the same. But there's like a basis of like, okay, we know we want this artist to do content. We know we want to do live performance content. We know we want to do a podcast. We know we want to do, it's kind of can be the same pillars of marketing, but like that looks very different in how you do it with each artist, I would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this kind of like, there's a question that I had asked prior, not necessarily, is basically forming relationships, right? This music industry, obviously, you come across a lot of personalities, some people who do things differently, and whereas another person does it this way. So how do you, maintain or how do you, I guess, stop yourself from crossing the line to where you are too personal with your, like having to code switch with an artist, whereas with your personal life? You know what I mean? Do you find yourself ever in a situation to where like, okay, you can be your whole personal self, because this is how you get in tuned and build that relationship? Or do you feel like because this is work, it has to be strictly professional? You can't really be too personal. And there is a line that can be crossed.
Yeah, honestly, I think, well, one, working in music is kind of a lifestyle job, and your real life kind of does blend with work.
Right.
In general, right? Like I think even a lot of things we might go out to do might still include like a music industry element. But I said that to say, I think there is a level of professionalism until you like really get to know them. I feel like there's still professionalism for sure, but like, in the same way that like you might, shoot the shit with your coworker, you might do it with your artist if you've got a level of comfortability. It's just different levels, right? Like some artists want to be close with their team because again, like you said, that trust is honestly the most important. That's how you get most things across the lines if your artist trusts you. But there's artists who like just want to leave most things to management and have them deal, with the label side. But I think with that though, there is a balance. I think it just depends on the artist. Some artists only want that business relationship. They don't really want the personal. And that's great too. This is work. But I think at the end of the day, human connection is what kind of helps us like build trust. And so like, especially like as a Black woman who works with Black artists, like my artists can see themselves in me. I think that can feel like important to some artists. So you kind of do want to let that guard down so your artists feel comfortable, like, oh, this person understands because they kind of come from a situation I've come from, or like, or they even like they joke the way that I do. I think there is a level of like comfortability that you should have with an artist to make them feel comfortable as well. And yeah, you can, you at the end of the day, this is work. So you got to put on your, professional, like we need to get this done. But that doesn't mean like you can't be silly or have fun or just like, chop it up with your artist.
Absolutely. That was well said. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm sure a lot of people in this industry get a little confused and hesitant on whether or not they can be their full selves because they're not necessarily sure, how this relationship is going to go if you are like, super friendly or super personal. So I did want to go back to the college life for those who are still in school and do want to develop roles into digital marketing. What are some tips that you would recommend a student does, or a skill that a student should pick up to help them enhance their skills and help them get their foot in the music industry?
Yeah, I mean, two things I would say just in general, knowing the internet 100%. I think that kind of works across a lot of departments that aren't just digital, right? Like I think even like, our revenue team who does like streaming and works with the DSPs, they have to have their posts on like what is going on the internet. I think the PMs have to know what's going on the internet. I think publicists, I think, so I think in our research in general. So I think if you have to have a knowledge of the internet in general. I think that's going to be like the biggest key in like breaking into the music industry is just, it is so reliant on what we receive from the internet 100%. So I would say learning the internet, learning how you see artists, what like just watch what artists do, watch how they're marketing themselves and take note of that and build your own plans and what you think, how you think that should have went, or, just kind of develop things on your own in that respect. So you kind of even massage that skill. So one day if, a label reaches out, you already have like this plan ready for an artist or you can kind of tweak it if they ask for whatever. But I think just that knowledge of just the internet and watching like meticulously how artists are actually presenting themselves on the internet, watching their campaigns from start to finish. I think to keep an eye on that is important. And then just draw from that to have your own knowledge of how you see like other, artists should be marketed. Another piece of advice I would give would be to don't have too much pride. I would say reach out to who you can reach out with too. Like a lot of what helped me get to where I'm at is truly cold DMing people on LinkedIn. I mean, my first music job was at Live Nation in Chicago. And again, when I decided I went to work in music, I had zero experience. So I had nothing to go off of, just my word. Like I promise y'all, I'm good at this. I promise you.
Right.
But when I'm like, I don't have any connections, I don't have anyone. So I went to LinkedIn and just DM'd people. So like for my Live Nation job, I went straight to HR. I was like, hey, I would love to work at your company, blah, blah. It was crazy. She actually put me on for an interview. I did not get that interview. I mean, I did not get that job, but they called me back 6 months later saying, hey, we have. So it's like you are going to experience a lot of no's and those are going to be really daunting. But like that one yes is like something you have to hold on to because it will happen. But you also have to put yourself out there. You got to put yourself out there. You got to reach out to people, even if it's just to have a coffee chat or anything. And don't even always reach out to people with a motive like, hey, I saw this job. Can you help me get it? It's just like, hey, I think what you're doing in the industry is really cool. I would love to just chat with you. Obviously, and DMs get piled. I don't even see all my LinkedIn DMs. I try to respond to people when I can and try to give them that respect. But like that networking like helped me because it's a lot of the industry also is about who you know. It's about who you say, hey, I know this person. I trust this person. We should hire them here. So yeah, I would say that would be my advice.
I'm sure I know all the viewers appreciate that very much. You guys heard it here, folks. But first, do not get discouraged after one no. Okay,
No.
keep pushing, keep putting one foot in front of the other because there's always
Mhm.
light at the end of the tunnel.
That's
All right,
hilarious.
and we
Like
do have. Absolutely, absolutely. This question is coming from the chat. It's from Megs, and you kind of answered it just a little bit, but she asks, "What skills and experiences does your team seek out for candidates interested in working in digital music marketing, and how can college students prepare themselves for early career opportunities and entry level positions?"
got it. Yeah, so I feel like I kind of went
Hmm.
over that, but I would just say, yeah, learn the skill. This whatever you're trying to get into, learn the skill. I think also labels appreciate like that entrepreneurial spirit. So like if you want to be an A&R, figure out how to find an up and coming artist, an up and coming producer, and put them together to make a song. That's A&Ring right there. That's artist
Yep.
development. If you want to work in marketing, like I said, watch how these artists are rolling out their campaigns online and figure out
Hmm.
how make a campaign for whoever and send that to the label. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
yourself out there. That I would say putting yourself out there 100%, and also just like learning the skills that you of the department that you want to be in. So
Hmm.
like, keeping a close eye. Yeah, okay. You want to be digital marketing, so make sure you're up on the, the tech, e-blast that goes out about what has changed on Meta or what has changed on this. So
Hmm.
you can be like knowledgeable of not just what happens on the internet, what people are doing on the internet, but what the platforms themselves are doing. So yeah, I don't know if that fully answered it, but kind of
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I feel like in this day and age, you don't have to necessarily rely on a company. Of course, you want to get in the company and get your foot in the door.
Mhm.
But especially now with social media and us living in the technological society, you can really create your own portfolio by, building your own brand and even partnering with other folks to build your own brand. So would you, I guess I like agree on that part. Like you don't necessarily have to rely on companies all the time for you to enhance your skills in digital marketing. I mean, especially with social media now, you can, market yourself just by social media.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I mean, my social media experience is self-taught. Like, it's not. I didn't go to school for social media. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Hmm.
so. It's you kind of have to throw yourself in there and like learn as you go. Honestly.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. I mean, was there any do you have like any favorite projects that you worked on this year that like that you remind yourself of and look forward to, I guess, top it next year?
That is a great question. I mean, the Anxiety by Dochi was huge.
Oh
So
yeah.
that is one. I would say we're in the middle of like Masego having a moment right now. He's dropped 3 singles, and one of them, Unhinged, is going viral
Yeah.
on TikTok and Instagram right now. So I'm just really excited to see like, the next phase of like now that he's released, like how people are like excited to see he's coming back. So that's one of my favorite things working on right now, and just seeing how that looks for him next year. And then of
Yeah.
course, like I said, Dochi Anxiety, but also like what that looks like for her 2026 album, things of that sort. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Shout out.
one last thing, I would say I had a very, very fun day on a Kali Uchi meet and greet. That was very fun, where she went to different fans' houses and like surprised them with like merch and like stuff like that, and we got to like get some cool content.
What?
That was awesome. So yeah, I've some really like cool things we got to do this year. So I'm just super excited to just keep doing cool stuff.
Oh yeah. Hey, you're the woman for the job. To do cool stuff, call Danielle, guys. Call Danielle. Was there anything that edit project that you looked back on that like you low key wish that you did a little bit differently? I mean, of course, obviously
Hmm.
everything happens for a reason, but
Yeah.
you kind of you reminded yourself, okay, this, I didn't really like how I did this, and now I'm gonna remind myself not to do it again.
I wouldn't say that, because I like my roster has changed a lot since I started at Capital, and just even the roster that Capital has changed a lot. So when I started, I was working on very developing artists. So, and not to
Hmm.
say like I could like test, with their careers or anything like that, but I think there was a lot
Hmm.
of room to like figure it out when I first started. So I know there were some things that weren't the greatest for sure.
Hmm.
I won't get too specific, but I think it was all a learning experience. Like, okay, this did not work. I know that for next time. So yeah, I wouldn't say I would change anything at all. I would say it's all helped me like develop into like the digital marketer that I am today. So I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing.
Awesome. And that's a good thing. Everything happens for a reason, right?
Mhm.
But speaking of developing artists, we do have another question from the chat. This is coming from Possum, and he asks, what's the biggest challenge with breaking an artist globally?
Ooh, that is the biggest challenge. I mean, breaking them globally, that's the challenge. I mean, getting everybody to recognize them, to see them how you see them across the world. Like
Right.
it's one thing to be famous in the United States, and it's one thing to be global. And so this is a hard question, but I think the challenge is just like the barrier, right? What happens in the US isn't necessarily obviously the same that happens in different countries, and what people are necessarily attracted to, what they see online. So it's just kind of like learning like how to, and we have like teams for this too. Like we have international marketers and all that great
Right.
stuff that kind of help, they're the ones who like really deep dive into like breaking an artist into the international front. But I would just say it's just breaking them out of like, I don't even say breaking them out of, but like getting them out of. It's a hard question.
No problem. I
Yeah,
mean, is it?
it's just getting people to recognize them on that level. Like it's just there's just a lot more that it takes to get there, and there's just certain
Mhm.
things that I feel like you have to do as digital marketers, international marketers, whoever, to like make sure that there are people around the globe like looking at your artists from even from the DSP standpoint. Like it's like
Mhm.
if there is anything we can do to make an artist grow, like on TikTok, maybe in creates in a certain region, that then can help us get that playlist in like what viral hits Africa or whatever that may be. So it's
True.
like
True.
sometimes you have to get like it's I think it's just a challenge overall. I think you just have to get very meticulous and granular of how if you see something bubbling like, oh, Doechii, we see that Australia is moving up. Okay, how do we then
Mhm.
double down and make sure we have her Australia fans locked in? It's just overall it's just a challenge, but it's kind of like read and react. You see things bubbling. I remember in when Doechii dropped her song What It Is,
Mhm.
it blew up in Malaysia
Well,
more than the US at first. It
yeah.
blew
All right.
on TikTok, it blew up. But like
Mhm.
that was just a point where like, okay, well, does this make her a global artist now? Because now she like literally she's kind of broken in that very specific region.
Yeah.
But like, so yeah, it truly just kind of depends, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
I can tell. And like we said, though, you are the woman for the job. And as we wrap up, I do want to hit you with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
These aren't necessarily questions that you've been getting asked before. This is more so your personal opinion, just really how you feel. And they're very light. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, you're on a road trip, right? You have the option to listen to a playlist that you created, or are you listening to albums front to back?
Oh. Ooh, I could go for either one, honestly. But do I get to
Mhm.
I get to choose the albums though?
Of course, you get to choose the albums, but the
Yeah.
thing is that like you can't. I mean, you can skip, but you have to listen to the album. Like this is
I
you
probably
guys.
would. But see, I personally, it depends on the album. I love listening to bodies of work because there's like a
Yeah,
story. If you do it right, there's a story
absolutely,
from song 1 to song 15 or however many artists there are. So it
absolutely.
just depends on the mood. But I would say I'll probably want some versatility. So I'll go with playlist.
Playlist. Okay,
Mhm.
fair enough. All right. Well, speaking of albums, what is your favorite album or album that you have in your rotation currently?
Currently, that is a good question. Um, there is one album and this came out maybe a couple months ago. There's this very up and coming singer. Her name is
Mhm.
Molly. She's an R&B singer, and top to bottom, I
Okay.
love her project. So that's an artist I've been listening to. Oh, Leon Thomas, his project,
Yeah.
into that album a lot. Olivia Dean too. I got into her recently. I'm like, oh, she's incredible.
Yeah.
So I've been listening to her. Oh, forgot Daniel Caesar. The album is beautiful. Yeah,
Oh, Son of Spurgeon. Yes, that was
yeah.
very good. That was very good.
Love Daniel
A
Caesar.
lot a lot of talented cats that you just named. I mean, was there any artist or any song that kind of reminds you of your childhood? Like when you hear this artist, you're like, oh, this reminds me of them days, them good old days.
That is funny. That is funny. Well, does it have to be an artist that I just named?
No, I mean, because this is, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't,
Okay.
yeah, Thomas wasn't around, wasn't
Yeah.
making much.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just off the top of my head, just because it's also just such a huge song right now. Kehlani's Folded truly brings me back to like a time of nostalgia when I feel like more R&B music sounded like that. So it brings me back to a time where like, you know, I don't know if you know LaToya Luckett's Torn or like things of that. Like it brings me back to like, I can't even remember how old I was when that song came out. But I would say Folded. Folded is a song that makes me feel very nostalgic because it has a lot of elements to the R&B that I grew up on.
yeah, I mean, amazing artist. Kalani is one of them R&B singers that, you know, she's gonna get you in your feels. She's gonna really have you feeling like zen. And you know what? Let me just black out all the noise and just listen to some Kalani. Is there any album that you listen to that, you know, you don't really skip a track, that, you know, you just know that this is going to be 10 out of 10?
You make me want to look at my phone and cheat. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Let me think. I mean, there's a few albums. Would you say recent albums or just albums in general?
Albums in general. I mean, it can be an oldie, a new album.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like there's like I love Janae Aiko, so pretty much any album of hers I can listen through top to bottom. Jasmine Sullivan's Hotels, one of my favorite R&B albums, top to bottom. Skips. I mean, even I know I said Daniel Caesar, but his last album, Beautiful. I'm trying to think of some rappers that I really. Oh, I mean, this is not to be biased, but truly Doechie's Allegations Never Heal was like. I know that album top to bottom, not just because I worked on it, because it is one of my favorite rap projects for sure.
Yeah.
The Clips album, fire.
Clips. That was a good album.
That was a great album. I might be missing one.
Oh yeah, shout out Virginia. Shout out Virginia. I had did my time at school at Hampton University, so I shout out Virginia Beach and Hampton. And my last question for you is, what was your favorite concert that you've been to of all time?
So I worked at Live Nation, so I've been to a lot of concerts. But I'm gonna say Beyonce. Beyonce's Renaissance tour. Beyonce. I've never seen anything so magical in my life. Like that was the first time I've ever saw Beyonce. I saw the Cowboy Carter tour as well, but I had a little higher seats. But Renaissance, I mean, and that concert was amazing as well. But Renaissance just felt like I was just watching like the rebirth of like a Diana. It just was like the most showgirl feeling. Like I don't even know how to describe how incredible that show was, but it was amazing. And then just with the album Renaissance that she put out, it was just such a feel good album. So just like the entire time, it's just like partying to Beyonce. So I would say that was one of the best experiences, concert experiences I've ever been to. But I've been to a lot of really good concerts, but I'll say Beyonce.
All righty. Shout out Beyonce. It was a magical experience. Truly. All right, Danielle. Well, I have to unfortunately wrap it up on this show. I had such an amazing time, and you were such an amazing guest. So thank you for taking the time out to chat with us here on Behind the Business on 3.5. It was greatly appreciated. So the chat, I hope you guys got some amazing wisdom from Danielle, and please feel free to come back and chat with us next week here on 3.5. I'm signing off. I'm Esai Ellis. Thank you for listening. See you guys soon.
Thank you.